This is Europa. On the surface, it appears to be a quiet wasteland of frozen plains and reddish-brown veins. But beneath that 25-kilometer thick shell of ice hides a liquid water ocean containing more volume than every ocean on Earth combined. For an ocean to support biology, it requires an energy source. On Earth, the food chain relies on sunlight, but here, the sun is a distant speck. Down in Europa's deep waters, photosynthesis is a physical impossibility. However, Europa orbits inside Jupiter's massive magnetic field. High-energy radiation constantly bombards the surface ice, splitting water molecules apart. This constant barrage creates a dense layer of oxygen, hydrogen peroxide, and organic oxidants, the exact chemical ingredients needed to fuel a biosphere. This creates a physical divide. The oxygen and chemical energy are produced on the surface, while the liquid water resides miles below, separated by a massive wall of solid ice. For decades, planetary scientists operated under the stagnant Lib model. They viewed Europa's ice shell as a rigid, impenetrable barrier. At minus 220 degrees Celsius, the upper crust is as hard as concrete, and researchers believed it was too cold and stiff to move vertically. If ocean water tries to surge up through cracks in the ice to reach those surface nutrients, it faces a thermal roadblock. The water begins violently swirling as it touches the freezing cold walls of the fracture. The water loses heat so fast that it becomes supercooled. Tiny needle-like crystals called frazzle ice form instantly in the churning liquid. These crystals clump together into a thick slush that physically blocks the crack, sealing the fracture within hours before any water can reach the surface. This self-healing mechanism suggested a geological deadlock. For 40 years, it was assumed that the deep ocean remained isolated, starved of the nutrients generated on the surface. In January 2026, groundbreaking geophysicists at Washington State University and Virginia Tech found a new mechanism that completely bypasses these fractures. They realized Europa's crust is subjected to a violent squeezing process caused by Jupiter's immense gravity. This compression packs the surface ice with heavy salts and radiation-charged minerals. Over time, these impurities build up, increasing the local weight and density of the upper ice. Eventually, the crust reaches a physical tipping point. Over time, this salt-choked surface ice becomes significantly denser and heavier than the pure, warmer ice sitting directly underneath it. Gravity takes control through a process called crustal delamination. Giant chunks of this dense top layer peel away and begin to sink. They drip downward through the solid ice sheet, traveling like heavy drops of cold oil sliding through warm honey. The stagnant lid is a myth. The ice shell is a massive vertical elevator delivering life-giving chemistry directly into the alien abyss. Delamination isn't the only delivery system. Massive asteroids and comets frequently strike Europa's surface, and these immense impacts can move material far faster than tectonic sinking. Scientists once assumed that a massive comet impact would need to shatter the entire 25-kilometer crust to reach the water. But new research from the University of Texas shows that if a comet melts even halfway through the icy shell, it creates a massive, high-density chamber of salty liquid water suspended inside the ice. Because liquid water is denser than solid ice, the weight of this chamber forces it downward. This massive Titanic times 10 effect causes the heavy meltwater to melt and slide straight through the solid ice floor over several hundred years, until it drains into the ocean. Surface impacts are not just craters. They are delayed-release nutrient bombs injected deep into Europa's ecosystem. If the crust is constantly peeling and sinking into the deep, it raises a logical question. Why hasn't the entire ice shell vanished into the water? Europa maintains its shell through an inverted weather system. Cold currents moving along the bottom of the ice cause pure, fresh water to freeze into tiny crystals directly inside the saltwater ocean. Because pure ice is lighter than salt water, these crystals float. They drift upward like a reverse snowstorm, piling onto the underside of the crust to constantly build and patch the ice from below. This recycling is powered by a 100 trillion watt energy source. As Europa orbits, it is pulled between the gravity wells of Jupiter, Io, and Ganymede. This gravitational tug-of-war stretches and kneads the moon, creating enough frictional heat to keep the bottom of the ice shell soft and mobile. Europa is a double-sided vertical conveyor belt, sinking heavy material from the top and replenishing its crust with fluffy, pure ice from the bottom. For years, astrobiologists assumed Europa's ocean floor was ablaze with volcanic activity, mimicking the hydrothermal vents we find at the bottom of Earth's oceans. But 2026 geodynamic models suggest that Europa's rocky interior has cooled to the point where active volcanic venting has likely stopped. Shifting the heat source away from the seafloor changes the requirements for life. Any ecosystem in this ocean depends entirely on the gravity-driven delivery of oxygen from the surface. This establishes a new biological paradigm. Life here does not need seafloor fire to survive. It relies on the slow, steady drip of the sinking ice conveyor belt. NASA's Europa Clipper mission is currently screaming through the solar system to confirm this model. It is designed specifically to look deep inside the ice shell and verify if this planetary conveyor belt is actively moving. The spacecraft carries an instrument called Reason. This dual-frequency radar can bypass the jagged features of the surface to map the deep internal structure of the ice in 3 dimensions. Reason will actively hunt for the heavy salt drips and sinking impact chambers as they descend toward the water, providing the first high-definition map of Europa's vertical motion. Europa forces us to move past Earth-centric definitions of a habitable world. It shows us that a moon doesn't need sunlight or volcanoes to keep its heart beating. Europa is a planetary engine that recycles its own skin to feed an abyss that has been waiting for 4.5 billion years. We are now waiting for the vault to open.